Morgan Thomas Show. Brought to you by Black's Tire Inc.
They're trying to hold us back from having a show. You'd think we had named the show the Amy Coney Barrett hearing, but we did not. This is actually college football and Clemson football. But whoever is out there, maybe if you're in Russia, you're trying to stop our stream. We are just talking about college football. Not really sure what's going on. My internet is running smooth. Allen and Houston look beautiful as always. And 100, 200, 300 megs coming to the TV screen here. I have literally nothing else running right now. I have no idea. So we're on borrowed time, gentlemen. We're going to have to keep running through this. But I did want to get back into this. If you missed anything, again, the way I do it, I edit it up afterwards. I'll have the podcast ready if you want to listen to the podcast. I'll also have the clips up on YouTube. You can check them out there as well. Go to the Morgan Thomas Show on the YouTube channel and check us out there. Or check us out on podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. But getting back into it, quick overview, money winners. We talked about Syracuse keeping it under the spread. That was a bad one for me, but good one for the guys. Talked about UNC beating up the Wolfpack. That was a bad one for me, a good one for the guys. Boston College keeping it and beating Georgia Tech, covering the spread by 3, but beating them by a good margin there. That was a good one for all of us. That was a hammer home winner. We had Alabama beating down Tennessee. That was another hammer home winner. Allen and I went on a limb and took Indiana plus the points, and they actually won the game in overtime with a Superman stretch, and that's where we ended. Houston said he had something he wanted to say.
2 cents to add to this. If it wasn't for Penn State up 28-20, I was cruising. There. And then two, even when Indiana scored, I was like, Penn State's gonna get the ball. They're gonna score a touchdown. I'm gonna be A-okay. I'm gonna be looking fancy tonight. No, didn't happen. Indiana scores, breaks my heart. Just 2 different ways. Penn State, you stink. You stink, Penn State.
Morgan, let's be real. There was no cruising in this game, especially not from his angle. They were down like 17-7 the whole game until like 5 minutes left in the game. There was no cruising. Indiana was up most of the game. Now it was a lot of self-inflicted wounds on Penn State's part, but forget about that. The fact of the matter is, Indiana was up most of that game and had every right to pull out the victory there.
He's right, He's right, That's true, Houston. Indiana had a good lead. They tried to give it away. They tried to South Carolina at the end of the game and still came away with the win. I was thinking about it. Michael Penix got in by inches, by the way, which was a big joke over the weekend. I don't know why. But he doesn't even pull his arm all the way back. It's he almost got sacked, got sandwiched. But his throwing motion is like throwing darts. And he can chuck it like 60 yards down the field, not even pulling his arm back. Yeah. So the dude's got a cannon on him. But, again, they were up a bunch the entire game. Penn State claws back. Actually, they give it back to him, going for it on 4th down with like on the 10-yard line. And then they let them score. Penn State running back forgets to take a knee. And he goes into the end zone and is like mad that he scored a touchdown. And I'm like, this just lost it for Allen and I. And then Michael Penix just marches down the field and scores and ties the game. And I'm like, well, now I want them to miss the 2-point conversion so that they can lose with dignity and we can win with the 6 points. But they didn't. They went into overtime. Thankfully still won. Which, by the way, do you really think that was a touchdown or not?
Or the extra point?
The 2-point conversion.
I do, and I'll tell you why. If you look at that, again, either way, whether they missed it or made it, we covered the spread, so it wouldn't have mattered. But I was straight up pulling for the Hoosiers in that one. And I told you that. I was like, I want the straight up win for Indiana. The spread's not enough. And if you look at the ball, when he crosses the line, yes, he touches probably the ground before it hits the pylon. The problem is when he touches the ground, the ball is angled. It's a slight angle, but it is angled towards the goal line. And I'm guessing, my physics and geometry was looking at everything, and I was like, that's got to be across the goal line by at least 1.5 millimeters. It's got to be.
Wow, you can measure it. I mean, wow, that is talent to be able to measure it. Not only that, measure it from a TV screen perspective. Wow, Al. Wow. To be honest with you, I thought the ball touched the out of bounds. The bottom of the ball touched. That's just my opinion. What do you think, Houston?
I have a tendency to agree. I feel like watching that, it, it looked like both angles, ball hit on the ground prior to hitting the pylon. And then to me, the end zone view, it didn't even look like he was that close at all. To me, I don't think he got it. I think Penn State stopped him on that. But oh well, sour grapes.
That is not the worst game that you have sour grapes over. The game that you should have sour grapes over, and this is what chat was talking about, LSU blowing out South Carolina at home. The computer was right. The computer, remember I said, was going to beat them by over 20 points.
Yeah.
And you know what? Quack, after our show, Quack came on his show and told Kelly, he said, I've been listening to a lot of analysts, which means us, basically. And he said, I'm really kind of worried because originally he was going to pick LSU. And then he was like, I just don't know. And Kelly tried to convince him not to pick LSU because of the situation that you said. You know, they lost their quarterback. South Carolina seemed to be getting better. They had a good game against Auburn. But, you know, the backup quarterback for LSU just as good. I mean, he's, you know, like Qualk was saying, I mean, Brennan hadn't really done good at all anyway, so might as well throw somebody else in there. I mean, it's not like he has a ton of more experience than anybody else. So LSU wins, but also, as we warned you, Houston, we tried to warn you, do not go and be a lone wolf pick for South Carolina.
Yeah, you'd think I would have done that. I thought, as bad as LSU are, and look, LSU, you're not off the hook. All right, you play a bad Auburn team this week. You probably might win that one, but you still stink, LSU. I just want you to know that. I can't help the fact that South Carolina's defense, and mind you, all right, this South Carolina team in a 5-year span has allowed Kenny Hill, Drew Lock, Kyler Murray, Sam Howell, and now TJ Finley, each true freshman when they made starts, go off, have their greatest freshman debut ever, all under the guise of South Carolina. And here's the deal. South Carolina actually offensively from a game plan did well, but you can't win games kicking sad field goals, and you can't win games missing sad field goals, all right? You can't win games throwing pick sixes or giving 100-yard kickoff returns. I don't know what South Carolina was doing. I don't know why I was picking them. South Carolina, you were already dead to me to begin with. You're really dead. You're dead to me now. You stink, South Carolina, and you're going to lose the rest of the year.
Dead.
Dead. I mean, you can't get worse than that, can you? I mean, look, I do want to jump in there and say I am no longer monitoring the feed on Facebook. I want everybody to know. I want Bill. I want Mitch. I want Mark. I want Kevron, Casey, everybody that's watching over there. I'm not sure who else logged on, but it seemed like it was messing up when I was commenting to people. Okay, it seemed like the feed would freeze and something would go haywire. So I'm stopped. I am no longer looking at you. I apologize if anything is going wrong, or if y'all are trying to tell me something, or you're saying, hey, Big Al, I love you, or you're the best. I understand y'all do that a lot. I can't see it tonight, and I apologize that I cannot get back to you and comment on everything, because we had some good discussion going on on the chat line. I mean, Mitch Mack was saying something crazy. He agrees with Morgan or something stupid. We're not going to get into that. So I did see that. And Bill was right, as usual, Four Paws Bill, who said that there was not enough evidence to overturn that two-point conversion. He is 100% correct there. Houston was watching a different angle than the rest of America on that one, I'm afraid. But, yeah, I can't see you guys. I'm sorry. I can't monitor anything going on. So I'm just I've shut the phone down. I've got a blank screen. I got a blank screen. So we're just going to kind of shoot the bull with you guys, and I'll have to get back to the commenters later, unfortunately.
How dare you? How dare you? I mean, you know, you guys deserve, well, Houston deserves to know exactly what the comments are saying about him. But let's go back. Let's talk about some good things with Houston real quick. He did pick Notre Dame while you and I picked Pittsburgh, so he was a lone wolf winner there. He also did pick Oklahoma while you and I were TCU homers there. So two lone wolf winners. Congratulations, Houston, with that. And then also, I was a lone wolf winner, crazily enough, over Louisville, because I told you that Florida State dropped off after halftime, and you guys still went with Florida State. That's okay. I went with Louisville. They ended up covering, so you know, we had some good lone wolfers. Now, we have to talk about some of the ones that we lost on. and that would be Miami. Miami
Yeah.
struggling to get in the end zone. Now, they had hundreds of yards on the offense, but could not really do more than just kick a field goal. And they were a 99% public favorite against the spread of 11 points and did not cover.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pouring down rain, too.
Wow. Okay, so
Not
pouring down
happening.
rain is a big
Yeah.
problem. I didn't see the
Dropping
game.
a lot of balls.
So I didn't see the game, but that's got to be part of it. And then Virginia Tech losing to Wake Forest and only having one touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm glad Virginia Tech took the bad juju that Wake Forest gave Clemson in the mid 2000s. That Winston-Salem is a house of horrors for Virginia Tech now.
And then Michigan, guys, has found a quarterback that can play the game in Joe Milton, and Minnesota could not hang. They could not hang. They tried. They tried. First 2 quarters, they tried, but they could not hang the entire game. Michigan looks like they got an offense and a quarterback that can lead them down the field. So that was one that we all went on again, and that was a loser. Now, the good thing is, if you look at it, of most of our games, we had a ton of lone wolfers. We had a ton of money winners and only 3 losers, only 3 majority losers. So, hey, I think we're still overall, I would say it's a successful week. But that's my look back at last week. Al, tell us our sexy players of the week.
All right. So it was another kind of blah week. I don't know if y'all noticed or if y'all even took a look at it, but there was not a lot of great performances overall stat wise when I was looking at the fantasy points kind of online. The one that stood out the most was Malik Willis, quarterback for Liberty. He had 345 yards passing with 6 touchdowns, and he also added with no interceptions, by the way. He also added 97 yards rushing with a touchdown, so 7 touchdowns overall. Definitely worthy of one of my sexy performances. That's number 1 with a pen, actually. Next, I had Marlin Williams, wide receiver for Central Florida, 9 catches, 174 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pretty solid performance there. You'd take that in a heartbeat. Another guy pretty similar to him, Javonte Williams, but a running back from UNC. We all know how UNC's running backs are. 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kind of the same thing there. But good performances. But man, we've had some that have been over 200 yards. We've had some 4 touchdowns, and we've had some crazy performances this year. And this just kind of wasn't really the week for it. And if you've watched the Clemson game, there's not going to be any Clemson players on here, so I can go ahead and spoil that for you. This was not a very impressive showing, but I had to put Najee Harris on there, the running back from Alabama. He only had 96 yards rushing, okay, but he had 3 touchdowns, and he also had 61 receiving yards, okay. That's how weak this list was this week. That's how many non-sexy performances there were from a standout perspective. My last one, I gave Zach Wilson, quarterback BYU. He had 287 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 15 yards rushing, which is nothing, but he got him in the category, and he had 1 reception for 16 yards. He got in every category, which is why I added him to the list late. But again, just kind of an off week for the big time performances. Other than Malik Willis, I think he had a great week, and Marlon Williams and Javonte Williams wasn't too bad either, but not at the level we've been seeing in my recap, anyways. But hopefully next week we'll bring some more performances like that, especially of the orange kind.
Good all-around player there, Al. I like that you threw him in there. I mean, all around, you'd almost give him like the Morgan Thomas Award for being so versatile and helpful to his team and just really being able to do literally everything. Average, maybe above average. I think that's definitely worthy of a Morgan Thomas Award for me. That's what I would say. But Houston, we talked about our picks against the spread. We talked about some of the things that happened this week. Al talked about the sexiest players of the week. I know everybody's like really looking forward to what you got of the worst performances of the week. So give us your winners of the worst.
The winners of the worst. I like that wording. First, number 3. I got 3 for you. Number 3, Virginia Tech. All right. It's bad enough. It's bad enough that you're a ranked team on the road in a basically fanless Winston-Salem. You get worked to the tune of 23-16, getting held to a bunch of season lows. But not only that, you outgained the Deacons by 100 plus yards, all right? and you turned the ball over 3 times. 3 interceptions by Virginia Tech, getting just absolutely dogged by Wake Forest. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't really even as close as the score indicated. It was 20-10 for most of the game, and then it ended 23-16. Virginia Tech, you stink. Can't wait until Clemson goes into Blacksburg at the end of the year. Second, and look, I know I harped on this earlier, but it warrants more harping. South Carolina, what are you doing? What are you doing? The other parts about this that I want to talk about. When you're down 52-17, you're not going to win the game. Why are you still playing Colin Hill? That's the biggest question to me. You're not playing your hyped up sophomore that led you for most of the year last year to give him a shot. Ryan Helinski has not found the field except for maybe one drive at the end of the Vanderbilt game this year. Luke Doty has had one play this year in this LSU game running wildcat for 8 yards. What is he doing? This could be problems for the South Carolina Gamecocks in the future. What are you doing? Two, your defense, not looking good. You got sliced up like Swiss cheese the other night, and that's not going to get any better. You've got some better teams offensively that you're going to play. Texas A&M, very good offensively. Missouri, very good offensively. Ole Miss, really, really good offensively. Now, their defense is suspect, but still, what are you going to do? LSU was down this year. This was your best chance to go win in Baton Rouge, and that was your performance. Enjoy 2021 with Will Muschamp putting that out again. And then lastly, my third loser, or I guess my number one loser of the week, is the Pac-12. The Pac-12, you know why? You're the last conference to get college football back. You're not coming back for another 2 weeks, not coming back until November after the election. All right, you want to talk about big league mistakes? This is the biggest mistake. I'm telling you, you're wrong for that. You're terrible for doing that. Everybody's playing football. What are you doing, Pac-12? All right? The Big Ten came back. You've got Indiana stretching out, winning a game. Ohio State is going out there looking great. Michigan's got a quarterback. Wisconsin's got a quarterback. Maybe he's got COVID. We don't know. But Pac-12, what are you doing? You stink.
Rutgers.
Rutgers is winning. That's the sign of the end times right there. 2020, Rutgers is winning ball games. But that's what I got.
I mean, you can't win games if you're not playing them.
Exactly.
Can't lose them either.
You can't lose them either. And that's why Anderson University is undefeated since 1873 or something like that. So they like to joke. But so that's kind of our recap. Again, we like to do our little mini segments there. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, I don't know if anybody's monitoring Facebook, but I am monitoring YouTube. We got a ton of people in here. John, P. Digits, William, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of the show. Again, what I would tell you is please like the video, share the video. My dad also wants me to let everybody know that he is watching through Facebook because he can't figure out how to get Facebook, or he's watching through YouTube because he can't get Facebook to work. It won't show our video. I have no idea why. If you want to give him a call and figure out how to get that working, I don't know. But he said to give him a shout out on YouTube. He doesn't know how to do the chat, but I know he's there. He's not there in the chat, but I know he's there in person. He told me to please give him a shout out. So Dad, thank you so much. Support, man, talk about support of the Morgan Thomas Show. My dad has been a supporter of the Morgan Thomas Show since birth, you guys. So that is a longtime fan for sure. But Al, Houston, I don't know if you guys are watching on Facebook or even checking it out. But again, nope. I'll try to jump back and forth to check it out because we can't leave Bill hanging. I mean, he's probably like dying over there. But and Al as well. But thank you again for joining in. Let's go through our second segment sponsor. We're going to try to talk about Syracuse and Clemson recap. We got a lot to talk about with this, so hopefully it won't go till midnight. But then Boston College versus Clemson as well. And then we still got our picks against the spread. So we're going to try to go through it here. We're going to do our picks against the spread. I promise you this time, the college game day style. I don't have the graphics yet. I'm still working on the graphics, but we're going to try to go just as fast. So just bear with us. But let me start out with our segment sponsor, Charleston Sports Pub of Clemson, 359 College Avenue, Clemson, South Carolina. Perry and the guys out there supporting us. As you know, you can see Clemson legends dine at the Charleston Sports Pub of Clemson or downtown Greenville or any place in the Low Country that they have restaurants down there. Go check them out. They're great to eat for dinner, lunch, brunch, late evening, late nights, pregame, postgame. Go check them out, Charleston Sports Pub of Clemson. Again, we really appreciate the support, Perry. And then we also want to tell you about Tiger Sports Shop. We don't just dress for success, we TS for success. That's tigersports.com. Go check them out, get your Tiger Sports gear. Alan, Houston, and I are all wearing Tiger Sports Shop gear. Most of it is exclusive Tiger Sports Shop apparel, so make sure you get in on that. But let's go straight into the next segment, fellas, because we just don't have a lot of time. And I'm going to talk about Clemson versus Syracuse. All right, so we had a question. We had a question over on southlandclub.com. Morgan Allen, Houston. How worried are y'all about, we'll just go down the list here, lack of depth at wide receiver? Now, here's my thing. We knew this coming into the season that Justin Ross was going to be out. And so obviously that is something that you can't avoid. You can't ignore the fact that you lose a guy like him, a 5-star guy, an outside guy, a boundary guy. So whenever I see people on Twitter or social media say, well, they need an outside guy, they need a big time threat, they need a big guy, they need a boundary guy. I mean, that was Justin Ross, and he's not there. So they have to deal with what they have. Now, they have E.J. Williams, but E.J. Williams is still learning. They have, Joseph Ngata, but Joseph Ngata has been kind of dealing with an ab thing. He's trying to figure it out. And then they have Cornell Powell. Well, Cornell Powell is a possession guy. He's not going to be, kind of like some superstar guy, but he's going to be there for you on the field. And he actually has been a presence this year, which I've been actually very grateful for. But the thing is, he says Ngata, Ladson, Powell don't fight for the ball. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. I mean, I think that they probably drop balls, in some cases. Now, I did a Twitter poll that said, what do you think Clemson needs to clean up? Overwhelming majority said wide receivers need to clean up catching the ball. But I will also tell you this. Trevor Lawrence has been throwing the ball behind Amari Rodgers. He definitely threw a ball behind Amari Rodgers against Syracuse. And so, just getting on the page, and that's where I go back to, sometimes you're not on page with each other because you really don't play that much in a live game together, especially when you just blew out somebody 73-7. We got to be honest. I've told you this, guys, over the years. I'm not necessarily the biggest, homer for playing 150 players because whether we like to, cheer it or not, the 6th-string wide receiver being on page with Hunter Helms does not matter. In a close game, those two guys do not need to have 5 more reps from last week. In a close game, it needs to be Trevor Lawrence and Amari Rodgers and Joseph Ngata and Frank Ladson and Cornell Powell. It needs to be those guys and Braden Galloway and all the other guys that Trevor Lawrence would be passing to. So, yeah, I like playing everybody when you're blowing them out. But there also is some negative effects to that in the sense that they don't play with each other for, really, they have limited amount of live game experience when that happens. When you have a big blowout like that, you have to admit that that's part of the problem. That's what I think. Not being on the page in that sense. However, I would say if you look at statistically on paper, Clemson is one of the best passing teams in America right now. So I don't really know if they have a problem in the receiving game.
Yeah, I don't think depth's an issue at receiver. I don't consider receiving depth an issue. I've talked about this all year. People are probably tired of hearing me say it. I think it's the lack of an alpha receiver. I think that's the real issue right now. And I've been bullish on Ngata. I think he can kind of be that guy, but he's been injured the whole time. It's not that he's going to be that guy this week. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he's got to get into a groove. He's got to stay healthy. That's going to be a big thing. Ladson has proved at times that he can be, but it's like a 50% deal. He gets behind the defense, makes a big play, and then he drops the next wide open touchdown. And he's done that a few times this year, and it's kind of crazy. He's dropping the easy ones. So it's kind of tough to have any consistency there and call him the alpha type receiver when he's not making those plays consistently. Amari Rodgers has had a drop in almost every game, and that's disappointing because he's had an incredible year. Okay, but he's got stuff that he can improve upon. If Cornell Powell, like you said, he's a possession guy, but he's been there. I like Cornell Powell. And I like Brennan Spector. I personally think we need to be seeing more E.J. Williams. E.J. Williams, he's got a little ways to go with his body. We all understand that. He needs to put on some weight. But I think he's our best route runner right now, besides Amari Rodgers. I think he's our best route runner, and I think he's got the most natural hands at wide receiver. I think we need to see more of him. I don't think it's a depth issue at wide receiver. I think it's the lack of the alpha. And I still don't know of one real true jump ball that we've thrown all year, unless you want to count the one to a Joe by Hunter Helms. And he went up and got it. He was barely out of bounds, which was a great play. But look, Joe's got a ways to go. He's got a lot to learn. He's got a lot to refine. So I'm not thinking he's going to be that guy this year by any means. But I think Ngata can be. And I think there's ability there. I think E.J. Williams could be. But it's going to take him a little while to get there. And we're just not ready yet. But no, I don't see lack of depth as an issue. I see the lack of an alpha as the issue.
I agree 100% with Al. I think you look at the depth, what we have at wide receiver, or what Clemson has at wide receiver. Amari Rodgers would be considered the alpha right now, simply off of seniority. Right. And he's had a spectacular year, justifiably so. Mm-hmm. Cornell Powell has had a way better year than anyone has expected him to have this year. And then as for the others, I think it's a matter of development. And God has been hurt. He said, give him time. I feel like he's got to get a couple games into the groove where he's actually on the field more, where he's actually getting some passes thrown to him. We haven't targeted him that much, or Clemson hasn't targeted him that much. With E.J. Williams, he could be an elite wide receiver really, really quickly. He's similar, the way that I look at his development, he could be similar to Travis Etienne, where he's got flashes at the beginning of the career, and then at the end of the year, he starts to kind of put it all together and become that alpha for the team. Same with the others that we have out there. Brennan Spector being a possession guy. And then the other part about this is the tight ends as well. I think right now, and I'll get into this more, the frustrating part of this is outside of Amari Rodgers, the alphas for Clemson are your tight ends. The tight ends that Clemson has are two great receiving and great blocking tight ends, and Braden Galloway and Davis Allen, and even J.C. Chalk. He's done pretty well as well. You need to get them the ball, and you need to be creative with your tight ends that Clemson has, and that's the way that Clemson needs to approach this.
Well, Davis Allen has jumped Chalk for sure, and it looks great. The guy got a touchdown last weekend. The question really was a lack of a deep threat receiver. I went and looked statistically. Clemson, first in the nation in passing plays of 20-plus yards, 35 total. Clemson, fourth in the nation in passing plays of 10-plus yards, 81 total this season. So, I mean, what's a deep threat? Are you talking like 50 yards? You have to look at, there's not a lot of teams out there throwing consistently 50, 40-plus yards out there. Clemson's getting number one in the nation in 20-plus yards, but less than 30. I would say, you got to give some credit there to this Clemson wide receiver group. And I think that, but there are some things that need to be corrected. But I don't think it has to do with the wide receiver core. And a lot of people said, why are all these flats? Why are they always thrown to the short flats? Why are they always thrown to the short sidelines? Well, when you look at it, there's a big problem with Travis Etienne in the run game, which I'll get into in a minute. So hold on to that. Parking lot that idea. Put it on a Post-it note. Wait for this. But Travis Etienne's strength, one of his strengths, is catching out of the backfield and using himself in one-on-one situations and just getting by everybody, blowing past everybody, making one man miss and going on, right? He needs to catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's going to do that in the short range area, right? Typically to the sideline. Well, if you look at Amari Rodgers is built a lot like Travis Etienne in the sense. So those two guys, pretty similar in build. And so it makes sense that they're going to be used in a lot of the same ways out of those short flats. And guess what? They're actually pretty doggone good at it. These plus 10-yard passes and plus 20-yard passes, A lot of them are actually not starting past the 10-yard line. A lot of them are starting at the line of scrimmage, and they're making their way, weaving their way to that first down, and it's called a pass, even though it's a kind of a sideways pass, right? So I think you got to give them a lot of credit. I know it kind of looks frustrating to see the same kind of things, but that's the personnel you guys have. I mean, you guys are talking about it. There's no Justin Ross, Ngata, Ladson, Powell. I mean, there hasn't been a big jump ball guy, right? So what does Clemson do? They have to play to the strengths that they have, the people that have proven themselves. Those are the two guys in the passing game that have proven themselves, other than Galloway and Davis, which I do think they need to get, involved more. Now, the next question was offensive line strength in the running game. Now, I'm going to tell you guys this. I told you guys this before the show started. Clemson's offensive line has proven to me that they can't run block. I mean, they're not a run-blocking offensive line. Now, I'm not saying they're a bad offensive line, but to me, they're a pass-blocking offensive line, and that's what their number one priority is. That's what their number one strength is. It shows in the lack of sacks that Trevor Lawrence has had to deal with. It shows in the amount of time that Trevor Lawrence has had. A lot of times, Trevor Lawrence looks like he has all day to throw the ball. Looks like the game is slowed down because of the protection so good. He's not having to scramble outside a bunch. He's not having to do, a cross-body to scramble to the left throws. He's able to kind of sit around and pick apart the defense, and that's why Clemson's doing so well in the passing game. And so I would say it's a positive that the offensive line is so good in pass blocking. But it does concern me that Travis Etienne returned and the offensive line is doing this. Is basically not helping him at all. That's my opinion. The only way Travis Etienne breaks one is not because of big giant hog molly in front of him. It's because he powers his way, he finds a one-on-one and just spin moves around you, PlayStation style. And that's a concern for me because within 2 or 3 steps, Travis Etienne is by himself. There's no offensive line push at all. So that's a concern for me. The Clemson run blocking, way behind pass blocking right now.
Yeah, they're definitely behind. And I think, like I said, we were actually talking about this just a little bit before the show. And I think they've been that way for years. I think we've been a pass blocking team for quite some time now, and it's never bothered us before. For the most part, I don't want to say it's never bothered us before. It bothers us fans, but it's never hurt our on-field performance to the where we couldn't win a national championship. We've proven that. Okay, so our run blocking has been good enough, is what I can say. But I think for the most part, we've been a pass blocking team. We haven't been able to consistently open up the holes. Travis Etienne is just incredible, the way he breaks tackles, the way he keeps his balance. And he makes a lot of times our rushing yards and our offensive line look better than they are because he's able to do those things. But yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll let Houston get to it here in a second because he had a great point about using the tight ends as well. So I'm going to let him talk about that. But I agree there's some work to be done on the offensive line run blocking wise.
So I think for Clemson and their offensive line, yeah, it's not quite there yet. I think for much of the wide receiving core, we give them a chance of how they'll develop. It's the same with the offensive line. But the other part about this, same with the tight ends. The only position on the field that can help your wide receiving core and your offensive line, if they're good enough, is your tight ends. And if you remember watching the Miami game, the best offensive linemen on the field that night weren't any of the offensive linemen. It was Davis Allen and Braden Galloway. They were part of your best wide receivers and your best offensive linemen. That 70-yard run that Travis Etienne ran was set up because Davis Allen absolutely obliterated one of the middle linebackers for Miami. Just destroyed him. He's a great blocker. And Braden Galloway is pretty good too. And I think you need to set this up where they are pulling or doing something for Clemson offensively that either you're getting them in the flats and getting them the ball, or you're setting them up to where they're just smashing the edge for Clemson to get Travis Etienne. That's when it works. That's when these little draw plays, delayed draws, that's when they work. All right. When you're able to get the tight ends on the edge and they're able to block. I also don't mind the idea of doing these screens to Travis Etienne where you set up all the offensive line, they kind of wait, and then they go. Because Jackson Carman, look, he has times where he's good and bad, but the best that Jackson Carman does is on a screen. He will kill anyone in front of him. And I mean that in a football terminology, but like he got after it in the Miami game. He's good. I think he's a very, very good asset for Clemson when it comes to screen passes. It's just creativity, getting your tight ends either the ball or in a position to get your best playmakers open.
And got chat saying, they don't necessarily agree with the fact that the offensive line can't run block. Well, I mean, we got to go what's on paper. I'm not talking about them personally, but I'm seeing that they're 7th in the ACC in rushing offense. 7th in the ACC. The ACC. They need to be up there with North Carolina, who's 2nd and running the ball 5.74 yards per carry, as opposed to a good 4.6. But there also looks like, as far as attempts, I know a lot of people talk about they need to get the ball to Travis Etienne more. That might be the case. Looks like they're about 4 or 5 attempts behind your Virginia Techs and your North Carolinas and your Notre Dames of the world, which are, I would say probably some of the better, definitely statistically the better running teams in the ACC. So maybe get the ball just a little bit more to Travis Etienne instead of 47 passes from Trevor Lawrence. Maybe give Travis Etienne 5 of those and give Trevor Lawrence only 40 passes, right? Something like that might be able to help improve the situation. Also, chat saying, why did Syracuse hang with Clemson? Why was it a close game? Well, it was a close game temporarily. And it was also a close game because of some things that didn't have anything to do with the defense. And we'll get into that a little bit further. But when we go through the offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game, and offensive and defensive grades, and I'll try to tackle that question about why the game was close in this section. But offensive player of the game for me, while he did not score, I bragged about him all night. Amari Rodgers, he is the true alpha. He's not your big-time Justin Ross. He's not your big-time T. Higgins or Mike Williams, but he is definitely the alpha, definitely a leader. Now, sprinkle in a drop, also sprinkle in a behind-the-back pass that he can't catch, but he is definitely somebody who you can count on when you need to move the chains the most. He typically seems to be there. He's all over the field making plays, and that's why I have Amari Rodgers as my offensive player of the game. Defensive player of the game, Mike Jones Jr., 3 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception that was almost a touchdown. If his hamstring would have just held on for a little bit longer, it could have been a touchdown, pick 6. But Mike Jones Jr., again, got the forced fumble. Andrew Booth was like 35 yards away from the play, and heads-up play ran and picked up the ball for a scoop and score. But really, it was all credit to Mike Jones and that pressure that he got and that strip that he got with Brian Bresee in there as well, getting that double tackle. So those are my 2 players of the game.
Yeah, so offensive player of the game, I actually went with Cornell Powell here. It's weird because he only had 2 catches for 45 yards, but he did have a touchdown, and it's what we've been wanting to see from Cornell Powell. That's really all you really need from him in a game. Just a couple catches for mid-range yardage and a touchdown. Just he can fight for the ball. That's one thing I think he can do in traffic. Not that he goes up and catches it over somebody, but that he tries to catch it out in front of his body in traffic. He can do that pretty well, and I like the way he did that on Saturday. So I gave him the offensive player of the game. This is a tough offensive player of the game. I think I was with you guys, and Amari Rodgers was kind of who I immediately went to. And then I was like, you know what? I'm giving it to Powell. I like what he's done. We heard a lot about him this offseason. We've been hearing a lot about him for a lot of years, and it's his time to come through and be a possession guy if that's what he's going to be. Be the third down guy that we need. I don't care. Play your role, and he's doing good with that right now, and I'll accept that. Defensive player of the game, I also went with Mike Jones Jr. He had half a sack. He had half a tackle for loss. He didn't get the forced fumble, I don't believe. I believe the forced fumble was Brezee's. But he was the reason for that forced fumble, okay? He also had the interception for 40 yards. What was so impressive to me was on that play where we got the scoop and score by Andrew Booth. Man, I mean, he is being blocked by the lineman, and he reaches around the lineman and grabs the quarterback and holds on for dear life, which is incredible strength, okay? To still be being blocked and have hold of a quarterback who can, wiggle away if they want to, and a lot of them would. He just grabs him and holds on just enough for Bresee to get over there and just smash the guy and knock the ball loose. And, of course, then they try to flop on the ball, and nobody knows where it is, and it kind of squirts out underneath. And Booth just effortlessly glides in, picks it up, and goes for a touchdown. So, yeah, I gave it to Mike Jones Jr. as well. A good game by him. I like what I've seen from him so far this year.
My offensive player of the game for Clemson, the great Cornflake Gate of 2020. Travis Etienne gets it. Look, I know this shows if there's anything troubling to me, and I think it's just how things were 12 o'clock, Jefferson Pilot Sports game of the day, basically sleepy, 20,000 seats or 20,000 fans in the stands. Nobody's there. The offense was sputtering. Clemson didn't know what to do. Travis Etienne has to go to the locker room, comes back out after getting an IV and just turns it on. And I know he only had 86 yards of total offense, but he's a difference maker. To me, if Trevor Lawrence wins the Heisman this year, he needs to share that with Travis Etienne, because Travis Etienne commands the field, commands a lot of the respect of the field. And a lot of what Trevor Lawrence is able to accomplish on the field is partly due to how much the defense respects Travis Etienne. My defensive player of the game, Brian Brzee. Look, he was the one that caused the fumble, but I don't think a lot of people understand how much he's commanding as far as offensive line or offensive lineman per blocking. All right, he's getting double teamed every pass play. We're talking about a true freshman right now has the ability to come in and make that much of a difference for Clemson right now. And I know that a lot of Clemson fans have been spoiled with the Dexter Lawrences and the Christian Wilkins of the world, but Brian Brzee is a different type of player that he's just now figuring out. He's still figuring out, and he's commanding this, getting game-winning fumbles basically for Clemson to win the game. Brian Brzee could be one of the all-time best defensive tackles to ever play the game, and he's showing that right now. And I think you may not see as much on the stat sheet, but he absolutely deserves the player of the game, in my opinion.
Big Allen Adams already said that like 4 months ago, so
just repeating it.
But yeah, it is nice to see what he is doing, number 11 there. Still don't see a lot of number 13. There's some speculation, some rumors going on. We won't get into those, but we hope that he is healthy and will be back. But some things are out there. Hopefully we get to see Tyler Davis some more. But Brian Brzee, definitely freshman, but he's having a huge impact for sure. For offensive and defensive grades, I've got... I really didn't knock the offense because they still put up a ton of points, even though they didn't cover the spread. It's not really the point of the game to cover the spread. That's just our, entertainment. This team is great at passing the ball. They definitely are average or below average in the ACC as far as rushing the ball, like I've already said. But I'm concerned in the sense that I want to see Travis Etienne just destroy everyone, and I want to see him kind of double team things with the offensive line attacking with him, and not just him kind of two steps and he's on his own basically. But I give the offense a B because again, I think they're one of the best. They're proven statistically one of the best passing games out there. And don't give up a ton of sacks. Trevor Lawrence does have a mistake here and there. Travis Etienne does have a fumble here and there. So I can't give him an A in that sense. And that fumble did set up a touchdown. So let me tell you this. I'm giving the defense an A. Question was, why did Syracuse have it close? Well, Syracuse had it close. They blocked a punt, and there was a fumble from Travis Etienne. The defense did not give up but one touchdown, and it was a blown coverage touchdown. Okay, by Joseph Charleston, who's kind of a new guy, right? So I'm giving the defense an A, only allowing 21 points, one off of a fumble, one off of a block punt kind of thing. Or no, excuse me, I said block punt, pick six by Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was throwing it and they returned it for a pick six. So gave the defense only 20 yards to stop them. And they scored, and then the pick six was the other score, and then there was the deep ball that was the third score. To me, you really can only say that it was the defense's problem of scoring on that deep ball. Other than that, you only got 7 points really as far as earned run average. Well, I say earned touchdown average. I give them only 7 points on that. So give the defense an A, offense a B.
All right, so I'm definitely going to be more harsh than you were on those.
I am an easy grader. Right? You want me in college? I'm an easy grader.
So I'm giving the offense a C+. I think the fact that they didn't have any rhythm in the run game against a terrible run defense is a red flag. I understand people are scheming to stop Travis Etienne, and they're doing a good job. I mean, Georgia Tech did a good job. Syracuse did a good job. I think the fact that he didn't need his Frosted Flakes, like you said, I mean, that was the biggest thing is having him on the sideline. That was not fun to see as a Clemson fan. But Etienne had another fumble that is not like him. He's now had two in the last two games. Lawrence had a pick six, and he had another pass that should have been picked off. The guy tipped it in the air like 6 times, and he missed it. Okay. I'm not sure what Lawrence is looking at here, but he's got to correct those mistakes. These are not Lawrence-like. All right, these are not Lawrence Heisman-like, okay? He's going to get those fixed. I'm not worried about Lawrence in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but he didn't have his greatest game, plain and simple. So I give the offense a C+. Again, this is a team they could have scored 73 against easy, just like they did against Georgia Tech. And it just didn't happen. But that's okay. They're going to get it under control. I am not worried in any way about the Clemson offense. Let me make that very clear. In defense, I gave a B-. Again, like you mentioned, they had the busted play by Joseph Charleston for 83 yards. That was brutal. Okay, that is a huge misplay. No safety, or he was a safety, I guess, on that play, and somehow he got sucked way up. Okay, that was tough. That was tough to watch.
Al, he wasn't really sucked up, dude. He was like 12 yards off the line of scrimmage. The guy blew past him. That
just blew past him. That's even worse. that's not helping their grade any. Maybe I need to change this. No, it was again, they couldn't get a couple of stops on third down and long, which I was pretty disappointed in. It seemed like they was just pitch and catch with somebody at the line, somebody at the marker, and they would just pitch it, catch it, and fall down at the marker, get the first down. I was a little disappointed in that. What really bothers me, and again, if he's out for any significant amount of time, this is going to be tough for Clemson, is the fact that how much different our defense looked when Tyler Davis is not on the field. Okay, I understand Skalski was not there and Kendrick was not there, and those are both very valuable players. I would say Skalski is more important right now because of the depth at defensive back than Kendrick is, but both very important players. But Davis is on a completely other level. When he is out of the game, this has been proven time and time again this year only that we are a different team and cannot get the pressure without Tyler Davis. I think it was Houston talking earlier about the double teams that Brzee is soaking up, and that's all fine and good, but usually they're blocking with 5 linemen. If Brzee is taking 1 or taking 2, and whoever our other defensive tackle is that is not Tyler Davis is only taking 1, somebody is going to have to make somebody miss, whether it be KJ Henry on the end, whether it be Miles Murphy. Somebody's got to find a way to win the one-on-ones, because without Tyler Davis taking up a second double team from the inside, we're not getting pressure, and we've got to do a better job of that. I think we will. I'm sure Brent Venables will scheme around it if Davis is out for any kind of length of time, but it was a little concerning. So I gave the defensive grade a B-, and I still think there's a lot more we're going to see from this defense before the season is done.
Houston, in your honor, chat is saying we should boycott Frosted Flakes, cancel Frosted Flakes. Somebody said Frosted Flakes has not done the job ever since Michelle Obama took away half the frost. So lots of problems, lots of issues with Frosted Flakes tonight.
Hashtag no comment. Goodness gracious. Okay, well, if we're going by tougher graders here for Clemson, we've got freshman level Morgan, we've got senior level Big Al. I'm going to be your master's course grader here because nobody's getting good grades for Clemson this week. I'm going to give the defense a C, and that's being generous. Look, I'll give you credit. I'll give Clemson credit. You're down 3 starters and one key reserve. That's going to make a difference, all right? But not only did they give up a big blown coverage play that's inexcusable to a team like Syracuse, no one is talking about how they got gashed for the better part of the second and the third quarter by whatever the name of the Syracuse running back is. I don't know, Trashy McTrasherson or whatever his name is. All right. They got gashed. They had some problems dealing with this. And this goes back to one thing that I keep saying over and over again. Stop running a 3-man front. Stop it. Stop running a 3-man front, especially if you don't have Tyler Davis. All right. If Clemson doesn't have Tyler Davis, like Al was saying, Clemson's a different team. When you have Tyler Davis commanding all this, you have Brzee, you have Tyler Davis, you have Miles Murphy, all this. It's a different team. When you run a 3-man front, you have a bunch of young defensive ends and defensive tackles just going upfield, and 7 yards later, you're tackling somebody downfield. Clemson was fortunate. They gave up a ton of third and longs. I don't understand that. Now, that's partly because Clemson didn't have Darian Kendrick. I understand that. But it was not the best effort. All right, it was not the best effort. They gave up a ton of yards. They gave up some points off of turnovers, block kicks, whatever. Just wasn't crisp on that side of the ball. I gave the defense first because the offense, I was this close to giving an F. This close. I'm giving a D- to the offense. That was garbage. All right, I'm going to be harsh. That was garbage on Saturday. All right, you have the best 2 players in America on your team. All right. You have Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. And I get it. Trevor Lawrence did not have his Christmas game. It's hard to do that. It's hard to come out week after week and produce 300, 400-yard games. You beat a team 73-7. I was expecting Clemson to kind of regress to back a little bit this week, but not like that. 27 points in 3 quarters is inexcusable, especially with the mistakes that were going on. Fumbles, snaps over heads, pick sixes. I was fuming at the way that Clemson handled the end of the first half, in a sense that if you score a touchdown, you don't throw that pick six, it's 31-7 at halftime. We're not having this conversation. I don't care how close it gets in the second half. We're not having this conversation if you're on point with that. Secondly, what are we doing in our play calling? Or what is Clemson doing in their play calling? What's Tony Elliott doing? All right? Because when you look at once again, Clemson has the 2 best players in America on their offense. No screens, no using the tight ends downfield. The times that you did, you score touchdowns. You move down the field. You have different points in time where Braden Galloway and Davis Allen get you down the field. And then Travis Etienne goes out and it just all goes away. What happened? What's Clemson doing? So I think play calling, I think the crispness of us, it was awful. It was garbage. Clemson should have scored 50 points. And I'm particularly not too keen on taking Trevor out at the end there and putting DJ in. I know play a bunch of guys, all this kind of stuff. We're Clemson's up 26, but score 50. Get Trevor his yards, get Trevor his points, get him experience. Like Morgan was saying, get him some time with his boys in the first string to get some points, and we won't have this conversation.
Oh man. Chat saying Houston of all people definitely needs his Frosted Flakes after that. He is very heated. Some people, I'm getting text messages over this Houston saying, man, you really need your Frosted Flakes over a 26-point win.
Just say
have a Snickers.
That's just the standard. That's just the standard.
Travis Etienne's getting his Frosted Flakes, so we should too. But they don't sponsor us. Until they do, we are not going to talk about them in that way. We're not going to promote them on this show. We only promote small businesses here. Unless they want to give us some money, then we will sponsor Frosted Flakes. But again, yeah, I mean, there were definitely some frustrations from the fan base as a whole, for sure. And I think that when you step back and look at it, Clemson is still one of the best offenses out there. However, I do think they do need to improve as far as rushing the ball. I think it is unfair to Travis Etienne, who came back for his senior season and seems to be, kind of not having as much success as I had hoped at preseason. So definitely some things that they need to work on. And hey, I mean, we're talking about things that they need to work on. I know you got some sunshine pumpers out there saying they'll never watch the show again or listen to the show again. And I hate that for you because, to be honest with you, if you talk to Tony Elliott, which the media did, first thing out of Tony Elliott's mouth was that they have a certain standard and they didn't reach that standard this Saturday. So there are definitely some things they need to clean up, and that is from Tony Elliott's mouth. So, it's not just fans being fans. It's not just us being hypercritical. Yes, it was a 27-point win, but there's some give and take with that because the Yankees, when the Yankees get to where they were at, the Yankees have always been elite, right? But you don't see the Yankees back in the day bragging about, beating the Expos. You want the Yankees to destroy the Expos. You want the Yankees to go up against whoever they can and destroy everyone. Same thing with Clemson. Clemson has got that best as the standard on the wall. And so, we didn't invent that phrase, right? So we're only giving comments on the best as the standard. But again, thank you so much for watching in Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, podcast, wherever you're really watching or listening. Let's get into Boston College real quick. Just kind of brief over this because, we had some technical issues starting out and we're going to have to get through this. But for Boston College, here's my thing, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just give it to you straight. Should I pick Clemson to cover a 31-point spread against Boston College? If you ask an accountant, if you ask a statistician, no, I shouldn't. But I'm going to. Boston College is 4-2 against the spread. Clemson is 2-4 against the spread. Should Clemson beat Boston College by 31? Considering Boston College is a pretty good defense, better defense than Syracuse. Let's put it out there. But I still have to go with the Tigers here. I think the Tigers are going to cover the spread, so give me the Tigers in that sense. Now, here's the thing. Clemson's got to worry about Zay Flowers, Hunter Long, and C.J. Lewis. Zay Flowers, 5'11", number 4, wide receiver. Hunter Long, 6'5", number 80, tight end. C.J. Lewis, number 11, 6'3", wide receiver. And then Phil Jurkovec. They don't say Jerkovic. They say Jurkovec last weekend. 1,671 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Look, they beat Pittsburgh 31-30 in overtime. They lost to Virginia Tech 40-41, and they beat Georgia Tech 48-27. That loss to Virginia Tech is going to be kind of like my basis point there. Now, here's some other stats for you. Clemson has a 97% chance to win according to ESPN's FPI. Boston College has the 5th best defense in the ACC. Clemson has the 2nd. Boston College rushing defense is 8th. And passing defense is 4th. So they're better at defending the pass than they are against the rush, which actually lines up good for them because that's where Clemson struggles. So being a little bit worse in the pass defense is not going to hurt them as bad again in this game. Boston College has the 13th best offense. That's really where it's going to hurt. Clemson has the 2nd best offense in the ACC. Also, Boston College has allowed 18 sacks this year. That's 11th worst in the ACC. Boston College's rushing offense, 13th. There's not very many teams in the ACC this year. Rushing offense. I wasn't expecting a David Bailey to come out and be 13th in the ACC. He barely has, he has barely over 250 yards rushing. 13th in rushing offense, but 3rd in the ACC. Remember how I told you Clemson was 2nd in passing? Boston College is 3rd in the ACC in passing. So Boston College, better against the pass than the run. Boston College, better at passing the ball than the run. So take it for what it is, but it lines up for you guys to pick against me again. I know I'm just trying to convince myself out of this, but I'm going to say a game at home. Boston College has only played 1 game with fans, guys. They only played 1 game with fans, and that was 1,000 fans. So there's going to be a big difference for them. Give me Clemson to cover 31.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about Boston College other than they've been the surprise team in the ACC, I think, this year for the most part. I think they've done a good job. I think they've exceeded expectations so far. 4-2, pulling the upset over Pitt. At the time, that was a nice win. I think they do a pretty good job. They're always pretty stout up front, and I think they could pose Clemson some problems. Jurkovic has done a good job this year for sure. And again, if we don't have Tyler Davis in the middle, that changes our whole defense. If they want to rest Skowski up, maybe get him fully healthy for Notre Dame. That can happen. You look a little bit ahead to Notre Dame. I know Clemson is not known for looking ahead. Dabo usually has them pretty focused, but hey, they lacked a little bit of energy this past Saturday. That's for sure. I think Clemson should rebound in this game. I think they should do well, even if they don't have Davis, even if they don't have Skowski. I think they will do better this game. I'm just not sure with the step up in competition if the better is going to be good enough. And I got to go. I think the smart thing to do here is to bet on BC. Is the line 31 or 31.5?
I've got it 31. So
31. Okay. See, that means it's a toss-up for me because my actual score prediction was 48-17, which is 31. So I last I looked, it was 31.5. So I took Boston College to cover that, and I'll go with them either way because I still think it's a toss-up.
I'm gonna go. I feel like Al said everything that I wanted to say. Clemson's gonna rebound this weekend. I feel like regardless of whether they have Davis, Kendrick, Skowski, whoever is on the field for the Tigers, I feel like they're gonna rebound this weekend. I feel like Boston College, though, has a more competent offense than Syracuse and will be able to score more. I think Clemson's going to win somewhere to the tune of 49-21 in this game. So it's not quite a 31-point cover, but Clemson does rebound.
Virginia Tech beat them by 26. So that was where I'm going with. 26-point victory. I think Clemson's better than Virginia Tech. So those 1,000 fans at Virginia Tech helped out the Hokies. I'm guessing that the 20,000 fans in Clemson is going to help out Clemson. So give me Clemson to cover the 31. I'm sticking with it there. So that's our pick against the spread as far as the Clemson game. That's our kind of a brief overview of Boston College because we're kind of behind here. And then our recap of Syracuse. Still a ton that we can destruct from that game last Saturday, which is good. Like I said, I'd rather do that. I'd rather have a discussion in the chat. I'd rather have disagreement on the team that we love than 73-7. Oh, they won. Let's move on to the next week kind of thing. It's just not as fun when you're running a show. Now it is fun as a fan. Don't get me wrong, but let's get into our final segment sponsors real quick. I'm going to tell you about Daniel Weber Insurance, State Farm, 518 College Avenue, Suite 190, Clemson, South Carolina. Give them a call, 864-722-9083 for all your insurance needs. We're going to give them a quick shout out. Thank you so much, Daniel, for supporting the show. You see their information on the screen there, so go check them out, insuringclemson.com, if you need any insurance questions or concerns or want to just chat with a fellow Clemson alum as well. Alan, tell them about heating and cooling.
Heating Cooling Services, Inc., ladies and gentlemen. They are family-owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating and Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller or anything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer, give Heating Cooling Services, Inc. a call. You're going to want to talk to Jason or Mark Trammell. All right, their number is 864-224-7655. Again, that number is 864-224-7655. And as I mentioned last week, they also do heating, hence the name Heating Cooling Services. But when we did this ad, okay, it was before the summer, which is why they said if you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool, but they can also keep you nice and warm, okay? They can do it all. Give them a call. Tell them the Morgan Thomas Show sent you.
Tell them Big Al sent you, because
even better,
more reputable. All right, so this is our picks against the spread. I know, guys, in the chat, man, we got a ton of people. We got double digits in the chat, double digits on Facebook, double digits on YouTube. Guys, like and share with a friend. And what I mean by share with a friend, picks against the spread. We got about, 10, 15 minutes at the most. Please go in and text a friend. Say, hey, there's this show, Clemson show, comes on every Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Check it out. Join me. The chat's awesome. We try to get your comments in as we can. We're a little bit behind tonight, so we don't get in the chat as much. But again, thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it. And the discussion, too. I'm loving what I'm seeing here. A lot of great points. You know, we don't always know what we're talking about, and that's why we want to get your thoughts in there as well in the chat. So really appreciate it. All right, so we're going to try to do college game day style. We're going to try to get through it as fast as we can for this picks against the spread. We already talked about Clemson versus Boston College, and that was a lone wolfer for me because you two guys, as far as I remember, you said Boston College was going to lose, but not lose by 31, which that's respectable. I respect that. Next one up, Wake -11 at Syracuse. Wake coming off a big win, aided by 3 interceptions by a walk-on freshman, Nick Anderson. So great job, Nick Anderson there. Go with the mojo. Go Wake Forest to cover -11 to cover that.
Yeah, I took Wake Forest as well. I just think people are going to overreact a little to Syracuse playing Clemson closer than everybody thought. Syracuse has killed me in all but one game against the spread this whole year. Wake Forest has bitten me in a big, big way every time I pick against them. So I'm going with them, and they better not disappoint me this time.
Literally, I have a dartboard up here, and then beforehand, I just threw a dart and landed on Wake Forest. Here goes nothing. I'm picking Wake Forest.
Next up, Notre Dame -19.5 at Georgia Tech, 99%. Now, you remember 99% last week with Miami, and they lost it for us. After destroying Pittsburgh, you got to feel good about Notre Dame. If BC can beat Georgia Tech by 21, come on, Notre Dame. You got to beat Georgia Tech by 19.5. Give me Notre Dame.
This is a really interesting pick, and I can almost tell you that I am going to regret this up front, but I actually have Georgia Tech covering the points here. And I believe you said 19.5, Morgan, is that correct?
19.5.
19.5. All right, so I'm going to go with Georgia Tech here. They're the home team. It's a big game for them, and I like their quarterback. I like Sims, a little much better than Pittsburgh's backup QB is trash, by the way, okay? He was absolute garbage in that game on Saturday. I'm not going to say he's trash, in general, but he was on Saturday. It was terrible, okay? It was an awful performance. GT is going to be able to do better than that. If they cannot turn the ball over, that is going to be the key. Can they not turn it over at home? Notre Dame, I think, is going to get caught looking ahead to the Clemson game in 2 weeks, and I'm going to take GT to cover the spread here.
I was so close. I was gonna just come in, and now I can't. I feel like I can't pick that game. So I'm gonna say Georgia Tech for 3/4 is going to be within a score. They fall apart. Wheels fall off the wagon. Turnover central. Phillip Sims throws a bunch of interceptions. Notre Dame covers in the fourth quarter. Give me Notre Dame in the points.
Virginia Tech -3 at Louisville. I was surprised at how close this one is. To me, when you get -3, it's more of a who's the better team at that case. I think Virginia Tech has still got to be the better team. Hey, 3 turnovers to one guy in Wake Forest. You know, that's not going to happen 2 times in 20 years or in 100 years. 3 turnovers to the exact same person. Get Tim Beret on the phone. How many times has the same person had 3 interceptions? I don't know. I that can't be that many, especially a true freshman. So Virginia Tech was one of those teams, just like a Louisville, who they're playing, who had more yards, had more first downs, had longer time of possession, and still lost to Wake. So Virginia Tech is one of those teams who could do it again and lose to Louisville, but Louisville already knows that game and can do it even better than Virginia Tech. So give me Virginia Tech to cover -3. Louisville may very well have every stat beaten and still lose by 7.
Yeah, I like, me and Morgan like to talk about the low point home dogs. Okay, and that's what Louisville is this week at +3. And look, Virginia Tech, I don't think is a great football team. I don't think they're as good as we thought they were going to be going in. And they just got beat in a bad way. They made us all look bad against the spread. For sure. And Louisville, found some offense. I get it. Okay, I understand who they were playing. I get the competition. But they really found some offense, and I'm hoping for that to continue at home this week. I am taking Louisville +3.
The best thing to happen to Louisville was losing 12-7. It inspired their defense to play, and they came to play last week against Florida State. Their offense came back to play. Right now, Virginia Tech is on the snide. I'm not sure about Khalil Herbert. Give me Louisville in the points. Chuck it up to the card.
Okay. We'll see. That's a lone wolfer for me. I love my lone wolf picks. Next up, Charlotte at Duke. Duke -10.5. Both teams can put up points. Chase Bryce, 11 interception year, fellas. Not so good on the stat sheet there. Give me the 49ers plus the points. Duke is 116th in second half points allowed in the nation. Charlotte is 22nd in the nation in second half points scored. Guess who's 21st? Your Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, look, I'm taking Charlotte with the points as well in this one. I think Charlotte can score. Like Morgan was saying, I think they can score. I think Charlotte, anytime you play a Power 5 program, they're really looking to make a statement game. Okay, Charlotte 49ers is not somebody you usually think of when you think of a good football program for the most part, and I think they're going to be able to do this. I think they're going to be able. Duke has let me down all year, which is what Duke does, and I think Duke also gets caught looking ahead to their game with North Carolina the following week. I'm taking the 49ers too.
I just have to put on a brave face and hope that I don't get hurt again. I can't quit you, Duke. I can't quit you, Chase Bryce. I know that you're probably going to fail me again, but I'm going to just roll it out there and say Duke covers. Chase Bryce knows his opponent played Charlotte last year for the majority of the game. Give me Duke plus the points.
Going back to what we talked about the previous game, Wake Forest at Syracuse. Chat saying it's a trap game. Avoid it. Also, chat saying Chase Bryce doesn't have a D1 receiver anywhere within 500 miles of Raleigh, so stay away from there, or Durham there, so stay away from there. All right, last game is UNC -6.5 at Virginia. I didn't take UNC last week, and it burned me against my Wolfpack. Wolfpack, you're done. Your streak is over. I'm no longer with you. The force is outside of Raleigh. The Virginia Cavaliers have the worst fourth quarter defense in the ACC. The Tar Heels have the best fourth quarter offense. You guys notice I found a new website with stats here. I found something new here. The Tar Heels have the best fourth quarter offense. Virginia has the worst fourth quarter defense even if it's close, you got to get like the odds in the fourth quarter, points per game there. Give me the Tar Heels to cover 6.5.
Yeah, the Tar Heels were a team we were pretty high on, especially offensively going into the year. A lot of people had them winning the Coastal, and we had them. Most of us had them, one or two, I believe. And they stumbled once. They bit me one time against the spread, but most of the time I've rolled with them all season, and they've covered pretty well for me. I'm going with them again to cover.
Mortal lock of the week. Can't lose bet of the week. You're still in money from Vegas. UNC minus 6.5. Give me the Heels.
Can't miss pick of the week, lock of the week. And guess what? I wasn't going to talk about locks of the week because I said steal of the week last week was Miami against Virginia. This is the same opponent. I got to stay away from it. I don't want to say it, but you can say it, Houston. So good luck with that. Next up, the last 5 games. This is the final 5 games. Make sure you get in. Let us know what you think. James is in the chat, said he's going with you, Houston. Thank you. Also, here's the last 5. This was my pick, so you can blame it on me. Write me at morganidon'tcare.com. Games of the week, Georgia at Kentucky, minus 14.5. The public is going 95% with Georgia right now. Georgia has a great rushing team. Georgia is one of the best run-stopping defenses in the country. Kentucky is one of the best rushing teams in the SEC. I have a feeling when you get rushing involved that it's going to be closer. And it is a home dog, a big home dog here. So give me Kentucky with the 14.5. I'll take it.
Hey, look, nothing would make me happier than for Kentucky not only to cover that spread, but to win that game. As you all know, my disdain for Georgia, and especially with recruiting implications that we seem to battle head to head with them a lot. But the fact of the matter is, their defense is nasty. Their run defense is incredible, and that's the only thing Kentucky can do. I think Georgia's going to be able to stop them. I will take the dogs to cover.
Kentucky has zero offense. Georgia will play JT Daniels this week. If I could bet on that, I would. I'm going to say the dogs take it. Give me the dogs and the points.
Only reason why I'm really taking it is because it's a double-digit home dog, and I gotta think that will help somehow. So I do feel like statistically lining up. Don't listen to me on that one. But really, I looked at my overall picks, and I was picking a lot of favorites this week. And that's the one I decided to go with. So, hey, I'm going to go with it. Kansas State at West Virginia, minus 3. Kansas State is on a 4-game winning streak after losing to Arkansas State. They beat Texas Tech 31-21, who West Virginia just lost to 34-27. So give me Kansas State plus 3.
Yeah, this was an interesting line for sure. Kansas State has most definitely looked better than West Virginia this year. They both have pretty decent defenses, which is something we don't usually say about West Virginia in particular. They're kind of known for their offense. Kansas State has had a good defense in the past for sure. I feel like West Virginia, I feel like there's something fishy about this line. If I want to go with West Virginia because my gut says to go with Kansas State. And since it's worked, so well, knowing my record this year, I'll just go ahead and stick with my gut and say Kansas State plus the 3.5.
Guess who's number 1 in the Big 12? It's the K-State Wildcats. And if it wasn't for those stinking Red Wolves from Arkansas State, the K-State Wildcats might be heading to the playoff this year. K-State might be the dark horse to win that conference. Give me the Cats to win it.
There's another team out there that we're talking about coming up in the Big 12, but before we get to that, this one is one that we may not have normally had on our list, but because they've been doing so well, the second best team in South Carolina, Coastal Carolina, minus 3.5 at Georgia State. Georgia State can hang with Coastal, but their defense is giving up 39 points per game. Give me Coastal to stay undefeated and win by a touchdown or more. So the 3.5 is going to be easy for them. Give me Coastal.
Yeah, I don't see how you go against Coastal Carolina here. I mean, Coastal's been covering the spread. They've looked like a really good football team. And when you kind of go over these two teams' common opponents so far this year, Coastal's blown them out by a lot more than Georgia State has, I believe. So I'm going to take Coastal as well.
Shout out to Georgia State backup quarterback Michele Colasurdo, Chapman alum. My heart's with you, brother. But unfortunately, I got to go with the party mullets of Coastal Carolina. Give me the shots to cover.
The party mullets. I love it. Last two for the night, Texas at Oklahoma State. This is that Big 12 teams that we were talking about. Oklahoma State -3. You heard me right, -3. Oklahoma State is 3-1 against the spread. Texas 1-3-1. You got to think Sam Ehlinger is going to keep it close, but 3 points close, I don't know. I feel like Oklahoma State has a hot hand right now. Spencer Sanders is starting to get back in the offense, even though he's been out for a couple of games. Give me Oklahoma State to cover 3.
There's really no logic or reason behind what I'm about to say. There's just not. But Oklahoma State has not looked as great as I thought they were going to look so far this year. Texas has looked very average, very up, very down, but I'm taking Texas to pull the upset at Oklahoma State. So give me Texas plus the 3.
You cannot pick all favorite. You can't pick all favorites, so you got to go out on a limb on somebody.
That gummit, Al, you stole my thunder, man. I was like, I'm gonna just jump in here and get it. Just has that feeling. Oklahoma State has not played up to their potential this year. Chuba Hubbard, we heard all this Heisman talk, gone. Spencer Sanders has not played well this year. And honestly, I don't think he's played as well as, Illingsworth is their quarterback. Illingsworth has played better. I like Texas in this game. I think the Big 12's championship hopes, playoff hopes go down the toilet after this game.
Ooh, ouch. Talking about the entire conference. You got to call the entire conference out like that? Really? I mean, come on. It's late at night here. Last game of the night. Thank you so much. Man, double digits still on YouTube. Really appreciate everybody getting in over there. Alan, when you dropped out of Facebook, man, everybody else dropped out of Facebook and jumped over on YouTube. So maybe you want to get over on YouTube if you're still on Facebook. I still see Mr. Kuhn over there getting in with his picks. We really appreciate you joining in as well too. I'm not ignoring them. I see them, but we're trying to run through them for sure. Really appreciate it. Ohio State -13 at Penn State. Penn State, you just can't go with Penn State after that game. They're losing. They lost to Indiana. They really didn't have a lead at all much in that game. And I got to say, Ohio State, if they're as good as everybody says they are going to be, or they are, you got to give me by 2 scores, no problem. This would probably be something if they had Micah Parsons, as we talked about last year, might be better. If they had a full stadium, might be a different story. But COVID era, Ohio State just seems to be better in general. Give me Ohio State to cover 13.
All right. Again, logic and reason thrown aside. Okay? Logic and reason thrown aside. If you really look at that game, first of all, Indiana's not a bad team that Penn State lost to. They had everybody return from a decent team last year, okay? And Penn State turned the ball over. They missed field goals, okay? There was a lot of mistakes in there that Penn State can correct. Yes, I would feel more comfortable if their superstar Micah Parsons was in the game. But Ohio State has some issues on defense. I think Penn State should be able to score. They play close games. They're at home, Happy Valley, crazy. I understand it's going to be a COVID type atmosphere. Okay. It's not going to be the usual atmosphere, but I'm taking Penn State to cover the points here.
I wanted to. Now now I don't know. I feel like I might have to sway my pick, but this is my main point. I feel like Penn State was looking forward to this week. They had this circled on their calendars. Penn State was prepared for Ohio State and not Indiana. They come out inspired. They come out and play well. They still lose, but they don't lose by 13. Give me Penn State, but not winning the game.
Nice.
We
you
shall
have like 5 lone wolves. This is crazy. You could have a great week. I mean, heck, you've been more right than us all year so far. So I hope this isn't the one that brings you back to our level.
I mean, you see these stats I'm throwing out. You guys are just talking about emotions here. I don't know what really, whatever.
Emotion has no business in football. Are we kidding?
Look, I mean, I just go based off of, this thing in my ear. I just call me Joe Biden. But I've got a bunch. I am seeing it. I've got Ohio State. I've got Oklahoma State. I've got Kentucky. I've got Virginia Tech. Alan, you've got Georgia Tech. And I've got Clemson. Man, I've got a ton of Lone Wolves. I mean, I didn't even bring the soundboard out because we were behind and because that would have been a lot of the same sound over and over. But I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the picks and some of our questions that we have in chat before we go. So Ohio State, we go by the line that we get. So people are saying the line's different. James, I'll tell you this. We go by the line that we get, kind of lunchtime on Monday. All right. So this is like a early betters, lines for us. So it's a little bit different than if we were to wait. We know that's a negative for the show, but really, I mean, we're having relative success against it, early on. But I will tell you, so we got some questions in here saying, would you take Ohio State at -4? I mean, I'm taking them at -13. So yeah, that would be a question to you guys.
Absolutely, I'm taking Ohio State at 4.
Yeah, I would take them as well.
What about -6?
Yes.
I think I'd take them at -6. Yep.
So,
I'd take Ohio State up to about 9.5.
But not 13. Not feeling 13, but feeling 9.5. Okay. All right.
Correct.
All right. I can respect that. I can respect that. Well, I really appreciate everybody jumping in on Facebook and YouTube. I know we had a couple of technical issues. I don't know why we had those because the internet's running great. We've been running smooth ever since then. We do use a server to be able to stream to multiple places at the same time. Sometimes they get backed up late at night, but we really appreciate the support. Ton of people over on YouTube all night. Really, really appreciate it. Again, every Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you don't catch the live show, you can check out the highlights or the podcast that we put up. Typically Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll go in and edit up this show, throw up some clips for you to see on YouTube, and then also put up the podcast. So if you have Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, I think Spotify, a few others, Anchor, for sure. Go check us out over there as well. We really appreciate the support. And make sure you bring a friend. We want you to bring a friend next Monday night. Happy Halloween, by the way, coming up this weekend. Clemson playing at noon on Halloween. It's going to be kind of fun. Some people are calling for not only the purple, but the orange and purple for Halloween appreciation game. We'll see. I don't think they're going to do it. Clemson likes to stay very, very traditional. Would you guys be okay with an orange and purple get up?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, look, you don't want to ask me that. I'm the most anti-traditionalist when it comes to uniforms. Give me a blackout all day.
Give me a blackout. Give me chrome helmet. Give me everything. That's what Houston said.
Amen. I love it.
Give me a tiger paw that takes up the whole entire side of your face. Give me the whole thing. I really appreciate that. I mean, I wouldn't mind having a little bit of variety there, a little bit more than we do right now. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. Tiger fans, we hope to see you next week. We hope you enjoy the rest of this week and this weekend's games coming up. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.